Hi there, this is Shauna from the Foil Fox, and I am here on Paper Tray Ink and Ink to Paper's YouTube channel, and I am sharing some brand new stamp sets. It's getting ready for fall, so we have this first one, which is Scaredy Cat. Has these adorable little kitty cats in here, great for Halloween, and it has some sentiments and little candies and some wonderful faces for the cats. And then, of course, it has a matching die set, so you can cut out all these goodies. And in addition to that, I'm going to be using Shutter It, which is also brand new, and it's going to create these shutters, and it's going to cause it to go back and forth, to open and close. And it also has these wonderful sentiments. So it's just Shutter It sentiments for that stamp set, and then this is Shutter It die set, which helps you with the mechanism. So to get started, I'm going to first show you with how it's going to work, just opening and closing like this. Just a quick kind of look to how it's going to look when we get done. But I'm going to start out with a piece of white cardstock, black, Summer Sunrise, and a soft stone for the gray, and a gray, soft stone gray card base. So I'm going to start out with the die set. I have put mine on a magnetic panel here to keep them straight, and you can see it has two of these kind of rectangle pieces. One is longer than the other. I'm going to use the long one. This is what creates the window for you. So I'm going to use the longer one, and then the rectangle for the window, the shutter, the little U shape, and the paddle, and then that long strip. Those U-shaped paddle and the long strip are on black, the shutter's on gray, the window on white, and then also that rectangle piece will go on this white piece. This white piece that I am using, you can choose any size that you would like, but I am using 4 3/4 by 3 3/4. And I am taking some autumn rose with a blending tool, and I'm just really saturating this piece of white cardstock. This is heavy white cardstock. It's Nina white, 110 pound. And then I'm taking Winter Wisteria for the middle color, which is a really nice medium lavender, using a blending tool again. I just love using these kinds of colors for Halloween. I just love those moody kind of looks that you get to do for a Halloween. That's about the only time that you can just really go to town on these. And then this is, I'm using a plum pudding and putting in this really dark purple. And I'm just going to blend that until using these different colors until it's the way that I would like to have it. And of course you can use any colors you would like. And then once that is done, I'm going to take some of the plum pudding and the autumn rose, put a little bit on my glass mat, put some water on that with a brush, and I'm just going to make some splatters all over this panel just to create a little bit more interest. With that done, I'm going to get ready to cut everything. You know that I like to put everything to cut everything and to stamp everything at the same time, trying to be as efficient as I can. So I'm going to cut out the rectangle, which is going to cut the slots on the one that we blended, 2 of the shutters, a soft gray, and then the black with the U-shaped paddle and the valance, and then this little white for the window. And so I'm going to color this one as well, and you can see I'm using a Post-it note. That's just to hang on to it and also not to get my fingerprints on it. It's a handy way to not get so smudgy on you, but also not on the paper. So I used Bright Buttercup for that. Now I'm going to put a little bit of Berry Sorbet. And I'm going to just add a little bit on all of it, but mostly just on the bottom half. And then for a little bit more drama, I'm going to add some Pure Poppy, which is a great red color, and it just gives such nice intensity. That done, I'm going to set that aside, and I'm going to take just a piece of white cardstock, and I'm going to stamp up this cat with true black. And I really saturated that because I wanted a real black cat, and stamped that image. And then I also have the cat with the pumpkin. Now the cat with the pumpkin actually has the cat where he's just barely peeking out and you can't see his eyes. But I want him to peek out a little bit further. So I took a little post-it note and I blocked off his head, and I'm stamping it with terracotta tile and then the tail with black. And I'm just going to stamp that way. And then now I'm going to take a post-it note and stamp where the sticky part is. I'm going to stamp right up at the top, that pumpkin right at the top, because if you don't have a full adhesive post-it note, you're just using a regular one, be sure you stamp the top of the pumpkin right where the sticky part is of the post-it note, so that it'll actually stick down. And I'm doing this to mask this because I'm going to take that cat, just the head, the one that we just had stamped before, and I'm just gonna kind of judge how much I want his head to peek out. I want enough where you can see his face, but that's all. And then I'm just gonna color in his tail, and I'm using a Y9 for that to color that in. I'm using all Copic markers, but you can use any markers you'd like, or any way you would like to color this. You could actually do it in watercolors if you'd like. But I start out with Y13, and then I'll use the Y38, and then I'll just get more and more intense with these colors. You can see that the colors are listed right there if you happen to want to follow along with Copic markers. Otherwise, just follow along with the coloring, or you can always skip through this if you already have a good idea how pumpkins come together. Be sure that when you are doing a pumpkin that you do leave a little bit of a highlight area for your pumpkin. I do use the YR09 towards the bottom and the top, and then I'll add in a few of these other colors just to intensify it, like an E23 and a YG95. That's for the top and bottom, just to give it, again, more drama. But I really like the YR09. It's again, that red gives it a really, really nice look, and it is kind of an orangey red as it is. Then I'll go back over with a lighter yellow just to blend them out. Now I'm going to do their little faces, and there are little faces on theirs, and there's this one die that just stamps the eyes that looks kind of like a squinky eye. It really isn't. Wait till you see how it stamps. I treated it with anti-static powder. I'm stamping it with Versamark ink, and now this is the full face. This has the whiskers and everything, and I'm stamping it on that cat. And there is a little nose also for the big cat that I'm stamping. And then you can see these eyes, it's really clever how that stamp was made. Now with that all heat embossed in with the white embossing powder, and now I can cut out the pumpkin. I'm not going to use the matching die for this because remember that they had stick out a little bit further. And fortunately, this is a really easy cutout. You can fussy cut this out in no time, as you can see. And then of course we're going to use the die for the big cat, and it cuts it out perfectly. Now that that's done, and remember we cut out these shutters out of soft stone, I'm using true black ink, and there is in the shutter sentiments, there is this shutter stamp that has those little slats that you can stamp. Now when you die cut these shutters, they do emboss those little shutters in, but you can stamp right over it to give it more, to have it be more pronounced. And now with some weather vane, a nice medium gray, I'm taking a little blending brush and I'm just going to kind of smudge on some of that ink on the edges, especially in the corners, just to give it a little bit more intensity. And you can put on as much or as little as you like, or you can just leave it off altogether if you'd like. Now with those done, I'm going to take a panel, this is out of Summer Sunrise, and I'm going to put a little texture on it. Now I didn't have a stamp that was going to give me the texture all the way through this card, so I am using something that I love to use. This is just from your hardware store. It is drywall tape, and it is self-adhesive, so it just sticks on there. It's great to use for this, and it leaves kind of this cross hatching, these little tiny squares on there. And I'm just going around the edges with the weather vane because you know, I'm going to be, the center is going to be covered with our other panel, so I only need to do the edges. But this a roll of this is great to have around, and it, like you can see, it just peels right off. You can see how that's going to go together. Now I also cut 2 strips of 1/4 inch of the same Summer Sunrise paper, and I've used that same piece actually of this tape, and I've just smudged that on just so that they'll match. Now we're going to take that pumpkin that we cut out, and I'm going to use glue all the way around the edges. I want to make sure that I really get this one glued down, that there's not any edges poking up, because I don't want it to snag when the shutters open and close. Kind of push that in position there, and we're all set with that. Put a little foam tape on the cat, and now we're going to move on to the shutters. Now you can see I cut out that rectangle that created those little slots on our purple ink blended panel, and it cuts those slots. And then we have this piece of black, the long black piece that actually has a score down, almost down the middle of it, and you want to fold that there on that score line, and you want to burnish it down really, really, really well. This is going to be your valance, and I put some glue on that little small part, and you want to position it right above those slots, right above it, not just right on that very edge of those slots. You don't want to cover the slots, but you want it on the very, very edge, and you want to just again kind of burnish that down, because that is our valance, and it's going to cover up those slots. Next, we're going to take these little U-shaped jobbies, and it has embossed in it 2 little dots, and so does the shutter. Those are there for you to position them. So you can you just position these U-shaped little pieces right over those dots, so that gives you perfect positioning. And you're going to do that for both of your shutters. This way too, that your shutters are going to stay straight and they're going to match perfectly, if you just do a really careful job making sure that you match those dots up. So now you have your U shapes there, and you can see they're all even. I hold the 2 shutters together, and if they're not even, kind of even them up, because you want them to be identical. And then here's the die, and it shows the 2 fold lines. We're going to use those in just a minute. But now I'm going to take a little piece of foam tape, and it's going to be a thin piece. You need to use a thin piece, and I'm just going to put it at the very bottom. This is on the back side, and at the very top on the back side. And I'm going to do that for each of these 2 shutters. And the reason why I'm doing this, I'm not going to peel off that release tape. I want it to cause these shutters to stand away a little bit. You know, you don't want them right flat up against, otherwise your window will have a hard time opening. And then I'm taking another tiny piece, and I'm just putting it on that bottom inside edge so I can connect one of those paddles. And you'll see it, see right there, see the paddle, how I positioned it there. And then I'm folding these little U-shaped on those folds. I'm using a ruler to just kind of crisp it up there, but I just made those folds. And then I've got to put the paddle on the other one. Now only peel up a little bit of this release tape, because only enough to stick down your paddle. Now that you have those there, so you can stick these in through those slots and then bend them over. So you took those two and you bend them over. Now you don't need to do this, but I find they stay more stable. I have a little pieces of a white cardstock. I just cut them. They could have been a smidge longer, but I just cut them and I'm gluing them to those tabs, because I think it causes it to be just a little bit more stable when you open and close them. See how they open and close now? So those that paddle and that U shape is what causes it, because you're slipping those through those slots. So I'm just going to spread this apart, kind of make sure that these all fit together properly and they're in good, they're in good position. Now I'm going to take those strips and I'm going to make sure that they're going to be long enough. In fact, they're going to be a little too long and I'll trim them off, but that's better than too short. And I'm just going to add a little bit of glue right in the center of these shutters. And these are going to be my pull tabs so that I can open and close it. You don't have to do pull tabs. I just thought it would be a good idea to do it. But you can leave them off and just use your fingers to push them open and closed. Now with that center window, I'm just putting that in position right in the center. So now our little cat is right behind the shutters. And there you go. So it'll be more stable when we put it on its base, but that's how it's working. Now I'm going to just add just a tiny little sentiment. There's this really cute little boo, and my little kitty is going to say boo when you open up the shutters. Now I want to put some little stays on these little pull tabs, just so this is a really skinny piece of paper. Don't use it too wide, because if you do, your shutters won't open very wide. So right on the edge, I'm just putting them there. So they're just a stay, that keeps those pull tabs from staying straight, and it'll also keep your shutters staying straight. So now I'm taking some foam tape, and if you've never used cut foam tape like this, it's really great to do it by just cutting it with your trimmer like that. You can put it right on there and it peels right off and it cuts it off. And I put a thin piece at the top and a thin piece at the bottom. Now I have a little piece of that autumn rose that I'm just going to put right behind those slots so that you don't see the orange peeking through. You don't have to do that, but it's just an extra touch so you don't see the orange peeking through those slots. You instead see the color of your background. Then I'm going to peel off that foam tape, and so that our card is nearly done. So I'm taking our card base. Remember, I have a soft stone card base, and I'm just going to smudge the edges of this too. After all, it is for Halloween, so we're just going to smudge that on. And I especially accent the corners. Again, I'm using Weather Vane ink here on this soft stone card base. And then I'm going to just wipe this all down and make sure I don't have any ink on there. And I'm going to just put some double stick tape. And I'm going to stick this down. Make sure we have it upright, that those little straps on the shutters are up at the top where the valance is. And there it opens and closes. See how easy that opens and closes? Now we're going to put our little kitty there. He's so cute. And then I'm using Just Sentiments Halloween, which is a brand new stamp set, and it has some wonderful sentiments in there, but I'm just going to use Happy Halloween, taking a piece of black cardstock, using the anti-static powder, and I'm going to stamp Happy Halloween with Versamark ink and stamp it onto this piece of black. And you know, I use this long acrylic pad because it has grid lines on it, and so does my glass pad, and I can just line them up. It makes it very easy to do. If you struggle with things like that, I suggest using some grid lines that really help keep it and make it quick work of it. And then I trimmed this down into a strip, and now I'm just going to do some helter-skelter little cut lines, because after all, again, it is for Halloween, and so it has to be a little bit ghoulish. And then we're going to put a little bit of foam tape. I already have it on the back, and I'm going to push that into position. And I'm going to really tuck that under there. I don't want it to cause the shutters not to open or close, but once I know they will, I'm going to trim off those edges. And now there we have it. I just think it's so cute where it opens up and you have this wonderful little shutter that exposes this kitty in the pumpkin. But I'm going to do one more thing. I don't do this very often, and I need to do it more often. There is a wonderful inside greeting for Halloween. It is brand new also, and I am stamping this up with the same colors as before, the plum pudding. And I'm going to stamp this greeting. Again, I'm using Summer Sunrise. And then it has this cute stars, and I'm going to use a few of these colors to stamp just a few of those little stars around. And then it's going to go inside that card. So here it is all finished. I think that it is so fabulous this way. And then you also have, remember, the inside greeting in there as well. But it's so cute how this peeks out, and then you have this very cute little cat in the middle, just popping out and saying boo. What a wonderful way to celebrate Halloween, and this is one of my favorite times to make cards because I get to use such fun colors. So I hope you enjoyed it, and I know that I did, and that you have a better idea now too how to use that shutter set, because it's a great one. I want to thank you so much for joining me today. I hope you enjoyed it, and if you did, please give us a thumbs up, and if you haven't already, please subscribe. And here are a few of the products we use: the Shutter It Sentiments, Shutter It Die Set, Scaredy Cat Stamp and Die, Just Sentiments Halloween, and various ink cubes. But you can see all of this and more at blog.inktopaper.com. And we'll see you next time. Bye.